He's the son of the Bat and the meanest Robin. It's time to talk about Damian Wayne because your geek history lesson is now in session. Hello and welcome to Geek History Lesson. I am Jason Fly Like a Bird Inman.
I am Ashley Victoria Robinson. Welcome to your Mind University because you, dear Bat friend, have stumbled onto the podcast where we take one character, construct, or Bat family member from popular culture and teach you everything you need to know about them in about an hour. And today,
that's right,
we are talking about a much demanded character, a much maligned by me, much loved by Jason, angry little boy named Damian Wayne.
That's right. We are talking about angry little boy Damian Wayne because the new series starring him and his best super friend, Jonathan Kent, Adventures of the Super Sons, is coming out very quickly around this time. And we thought it'd be a great time to talk about Damian Wayne, who is a favorite Robin of mine. Mm-hmm. This Robin, by the way, has been requested by so many people.
Let us know who the TAs are going to be this episode.
So the TAs for this episode are Fantam5, Dawn Denton, Lee Chavos, I believe, Chavous, Tanisha Marshall, Dwayne Cadell, Letitia Marshall. I don't know if that's a sister of Tanisha or not.
Might be the same person on a different platform.
Who knows? At Dark Knight 8883, Lucas Blanco, and Julia King.
Wow.
So if I mispronounced your name, you're welcome. But also thank you for suggesting Damian Wayne. A lot of people have requested this. So.
Yeah.
Now, really quickly, we are recording in not the normal geek history lesson bunker, the teacher's lounge as we like to record.
Recording in a bat cave.
We are recording in the I like to call it the adjunct classroom.
Ooh.
It might be a little bit echoier, it might be a little bit different, but just determined to our schedules right now. So if we sound a little bit different and the sound quality is not as good, that's because we're not in our normal recording studio. And please just go along with that.
Yeah, cut us some slack, man.
We're on summer vacation and it's we're working out here. So it's time to move into the 10-cent origin. Ashley, what is that?
Well, the 10-cent origin is the first part of the podcast where Professor Jason is going to roll out some factoids, some creators, and everything you basically need to know in case you go to a sweet, sweet cocktail party and someone asks you, what's this Damian Wayne guy all about?
Yes, that's right. Damian Wayne, of course, is a DC Comics character. His first appearance as Damian Wayne was in Batman number 655 in September of 2006. So Damian has now been around for 12 years.
And a long 12 years it has been.
Yes. As Robin, his first appearance was in Batman 657, November of 2006. And he was created by Grant Morrison and Andy Kubert. His full name is Damian Wayne. It is very unclear if he has a middle name or not. It has never been said in the story. His team affiliations, of course, are the Batman family, the League of Assassins, the Teen Titans, Batman Inc., and the Super Sons.
I love the Super Sons.
His notable aliases have been Robin and Rebirth. We'll get to that later. And his abilities, of course, are he's a skilled martial artist and hand-to-hand combatant. He's a skilled swordsman. He is an expert detective, and he utilizes high-tech equipment and weapons. Plus, he has been trained by the League of Assassins.
Ooh.
Just like Arrow. And just like his daddy.
And just like Batman.
Yep, that's right. All right, let's move into the Meet Cute. What's that, Ashley?
The Meet Cute is where we tell you the first time we meeted a character and how cute it was because we like to steal terms from romantic comedy writing.
That's right. Ashley, where'd you first meet cute Damian Wayne?
I first met cute Damian Wayne on Wikipedia.
Okay.
I was reading, it's true. I was reading the Jeff Johns Teen Titans series that's coming out.
And he pops up in that really briefly, I believe.
And part of the news that had come out around that was that Tim was going to be replaced as Robin. And so that's the first place I read about it was on Wikipedia. And immediately decided I hated the character because Tim Drake is the greatest of all possible Robins. And I think the first time, I can't tell you the first Damian Wayne story I read. Maybe when Stephanie was Batgirl and he told her she was fat. Might have been the first time I read his story. Not a fan of Damian Wayne, so I don't have a strong association with him.
And I don't think that this lesson is going to change your idea, but I will say that I think that this lesson will definitely give you an appreciation for the character, because I do think he is a great character story-wise.
That's fair. And I do hope that this illustrates for all the listeners that we can disagree on something.
We've had many Damian Wayne conversations. Actually, it's funny that we got this far into the podcast without
finally doing
Damian Wayne.
But I want to state right here, and I'm probably going to make a bunch of jokes at the expense of this character, but I respect that you like this character. I respect what he means to you, and I'm totally willing to hear what you think is great about him. So tell me where you first meted and cuted the angriest of all potential Robins.
I first meted and cuted Damian Wayne in Batman 655, his very first appearance, because I have certain creators that I will buy the single issues of almost everything they do, and two of those creators are Grant Morrison and Jim Lee. And so Grant Morrison on Batman, I was there from day one. I bought those single issues. I still have those single issues. Batman 655 of Damian Wayne's first appearance. Probably worth nothing. Probably worth the same cover price. But
no, I bet you could slab that.
Sure, maybe I could. But we'll see. So there you go. The place we are recording right now, actually, we just had a new TA join the podcast. A gold tabby cat by the name of Oscar just jumped up on Ashley. So if you hear some loud,
actually the cat cave.
You hear some purring, some thwaps at the mic. That might be this cat, Oscar.
Yeah, he's just helping. He's excited about Damian Wayne as well.
He's a bad cat. Okay. All right. So let's move into the History 101.
The main meat of the lesson, where Professor Jason's going to lay down absolutely everything that you need to know about Damian Wayne.
All right. So to talk about Damian, we first have to talk about the son of the demon. The Damian just not Damian, basically. Now, Damian comes from this storyline called Son of the Demon. Now, Son of the Demon is basically a storyline where Batman and Talia al Ghul go to the desert, they fight Ra's al Ghul, and then Batman sleeps with Talia al Ghul.
He's got a real hairy chest.
Yes. At the time, this story was considered out of continuity. And Grant Morrison has sort of made it into continuity. So real quick, I want to talk about like some of the alternate storylines and characters that have come from this story. So it's basically Damian, not Damian, as I said.
Cool.
So the child from Son of the Demon has actually been used in a backup character in other storylines. Before he was named Damian again, I said Son of the Demon was out of continuity. There is an Elseworld story called Brotherhood of the Bat that came out in 1995, which has actually starred a character called Talent Wayne, Tallant. That might be said differently, but I just know it as Talent.
Oh boy, I hate that.
He crusades against his grandfather Ra's al Ghul. In Kingdom Come, Mark Waid and Alex Ross introduced the possible future, and the child that they introduced, the child of Batman, is named Ibn al-Akhfashish, which literally means son of the bat. And he was a member of Lex Luthor's inner circle. Now, Grant Morrison's story titled Batman and Son in 2006 expands upon the Son of the Demon storyline as sort of a remodeling of Batman's personality after the events of Infinite Crisis. In Morrison's version, the child Damian Wayne is a result of the tryst between how do you say that? Tryst, thank you, excuse me.
You're welcome.
Between Batman and Talia, during which the Dark Knight claims that he was drugged while they were at the Tropic of Cancer in the Son of the Demon storyline.
Yeah, there is always been a question with that story of consent on Batman's part.
Well, Grant Morrison claims that he messed up and that he didn't reread Son of the Demon before he wrote Batman and Son. So he wrote it as a drug-induced love affair.
Yeah.
But it's actually not. It's consensual in the Son of the Demon storyline. And Peter Tomasi cemented it in continuity, recounting the story of Damian's conception, and implied that it was consensual by Batman saying, "I let my heart overrule my head."
Do you like that?
Yes, I think it is consensual. I don't like the idea that Batman was drugged and Talia got a baby out of it.
Yeah.
I don't like that idea at all.
I will say that I'm surprised that it took as long as it did for someone to pay off that storyline, because it is such an iconic Batman story.
Yep.
And it is such a dangling participle about, well, what could have happened to a potential child.
The son of the bat. So basically, Damian Wayne was born. But first, Ashley, I want to ask you, you just talked about it a little bit. What do you think of this son of the Batman concept? Do you think that Batman should never have a biological son because he's an orphan? How do you feel about this son of the Batman?
I do think,
and forget Damian is what I'm just talking. Let's talk about the concept of the son of Batman.
Right. I think Batman should not have a biological child.
Okay.
At all on Earth 1. I'm open to it on different Earths.
Mm-hmm. Like Helena.
Mm-hmm. But for me, one of the most powerful ideas of Bruce Wayne is that he's an adoptive father.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, and look, I'm not a parent. I'm not an adopted or a biological parent. But to me, the idea that you would elect to look after a child that you're not biologically obligated to, I think there's something sort of extra special in that. And when you consider how hard Bruce Wayne is, I think it's really amazing that he opens his heart to these young boys that he sees himself
These vagrants.
And I think by giving him a biological child, Damian gets preferential treatment because he's Bruce's biological son.
100%.
Which is a problem I have with him because I think under certain circumstances he's ill-suited to that preference.
Yep.
And it cuts off at the knees any import between Bruce and Dick, Jason, or Tim. And I like those characters better. So just to my taste, I would never have given Batman a biological son. But I do understand intellectually when you're looking at the Batman canon why that's an interesting idea to delve into.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you think it's an interesting idea.
Yeah, sure. All right, let's talk about Damian actually. Now, Damian was 7 years old when Talia had him spy on Bruce with her for the first time. Talia revealed Damian's existence to Bruce Wayne at 10 years old and then left him in his father's custody in an effort to disrupt Batman's work. He was precocious, he was spoiled, he was selfish, and he was violent. And Damian battled Robin, who was Tim Drake at the time, whom Damian wanted to replace as Batman's sidekick. And he sucker punched Tim off of the T-Rex model in the Batcave. Grounded by Batman, Damian then later escaped and donned a Robin version, a variant Robin costume that was made partly of Jason Todd's old tunic and assorted League of Assassins gear. And he got into a fight with the villainous Spook, who he killed. Now, although he was rebellious and very misguided, Damian genuinely wanted to aid his father's war on crime, as Damian saw himself as Wayne's true son. Although at the time, this had been unconfirmed in the storyline. And in the storyline, they also leave it very nebulous to where, like, maybe he isn't the son of Batman.
I think you can tell by reading... I was livid reading that story. I think you can tell, though, by reading it that editorial was like, we're gonna test the waters on this.
They later do confirm it.
They do.
Yes.
And see how it goes. Because I feel like a big part of cementing Damian in the Bat family comes out of like R.I.P. and Battle for the Cowl. Where he actually exhibits similar behavior to this first appearance.
Now, eventually, Batman confronted Talia, and Talia and Damian were soon caught in a submarine explosion. They survived the explosion, but a badly injured Damian required transplants of all of his organs. He basically had to have all of his organs harvested, which his mother ordered her physicians to carry out. And Damian soon made a full recovery. This was also the first reveal that Damian had been cloned several times by his mama.
Dun, 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 dun,
Sort of like going down the road of the survival of the fittest ethos of Ra's al Ghul. Now, originally at this point, this is the end of the first 4 issues, the end of the Batman and Son story arc. Grant Morrison intended Damian to die in the submarine explosion. Ashley, how do you think Damian would be perceived now, 12 years later, if that had been his only storyline? Like if they had left the Son of Batman, kind of like what they did with Son of the Demon, in this, he only exists in these 2 storylines.
I think he would have come back by now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. This is modern comics we're talking about. I do think, though, Damian's a pretty important character in the current pantheon.
Especially in Rebirth.
I think if he had died in that original arc, I think he would be like legendary status. I think we would have had an entire arc where Dick Grayson and Tim Drake are trying to figure out how to bring him back.
Interesting.
And I think his impact on Bruce would have been like next level trends. I actually think he would be a more important character because it would tell you more about Bruce Wayne by killing him and how Bruce dealt with that tragedy, having lost parents and a child. And spoiler alert, he is going to lose Damian for about a minute.
Dun, dun, dun. And then Damian's going to lose Bruce.
Yeah.
We're just gonna flip flop it, and then
yeah,
Damian's gonna lose Dick,
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Poor Damian.
and then they're all gonna lose Tim.
Oh, Timmy.
A lot of death.
And then he comes back.
Over these 12
Tim's
years.
not really dead. Spoilers.
None of them are really dead, but yeah, a lot of bad death
all
in 12 years.
pretending to be dead. But for me, Bruce is just a more interesting character, so I would have rather seen what that had to say about him. But
Sure.
I think he would. I think he'd be held on a different pedestal.
right.
Definitely.
So soon after this, Ra's al Ghul returns from the dead in a not so interesting storyline called The Resurrection of Ra's al Ghul. We're not really
forgot about that.
We're not really going to talk about it. It's probably Grant Morrison's weakest storyline on Batman. And Damian warns the Batman family about Ra's al Ghul. So sometime after surviving Raz's resurrection, Damian had sensed that someone is out to get Batman, or his daddy, as he liked to call them. And in response,
He never called him daddy.
in response to this, he calls him father.
Yeah.
Talia began to formulate a plan. It was later revealed that Bruce Wayne had performed a DNA test on Damian to determine any blood connection between them, which confirmed that Damian was the son of Bruce Wayne. After learning of Batman's disappearance because of the events of Batman Rest in Peace, Talia took Damian to Wayne Manor, where they deactivated a series of traps and saved Commissioner James Gordon in the process. Damian rescued Alfred from a burning Batcave, and the kid took the Batmobile, driving it to Arkham Asylum, in order to aid Batman against the Black Glove. Now, after the events of Batman R.I.P. and Final Crisis, Ashley, very briefly, give us a sentence on each one of those. What's Batman R.I.P.?
Batman R.I.P. is the storyline that directly deals with Bruce Wayne's death and how all the Robins and associated Bat characters are finding their new places in continuity.
Yes, and then what's Final Crisis?
Final Crisis is when Darkseid kills Batman, sort of.
Yeah.
He sends him back in. He doesn't kill him. We think he's dead. He gets sent back through time and has to fight his way to the future.
So Final Crisis, where his father apparently dies at the hands of the evil god Darkseid, feeling that it was his duty to make sure that Damian stayed on the right path, Dick Grayson took Damian under his wing as Robin, and the two would become the new dynamic duo. I like this a lot because this is Dick wanting to help a hurting boy who had just lost his parent, just like Bruce did for Dick. And also at the same time, it reverses the Batman and Robin dynamic by making Robin the serious one and Batman the jokey one. Now, it becomes quickly revealed in story reasons that the reason why Grayson had chosen Damian instead of Tim is because he says to Tim that he sees Tim as an equal and not a sidekick, because Tim was currently Robin at the time. Now, this leads into one of the best comic book series of all time, Batman and Robin, which is nuts that it took DC until like 2008 or 9 to have a series at their lexicon called Batman and Robin.
Yeah, it was usually just called Batman.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's like, it's like peanut butter and jelly. Come on now.
Well, I think we've talked about this on the podcast and in numerous videos before, but the brand and the name of Robin outside of the comics community and a little bit inside the comics community doesn't carry with it as much weight as it deserves to.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I think they might have been hesitant for that reason.
So let's talk about this series, Batman and Robin, which, by the way, the first issue of that series came out on my birthday.
Did it really?
Yep. Issue 1 with the yellow cover.
The yellow cover where Damian is frowning and Dick is smiling.
Yeah, and that's what their Batman black and white statues are based on. They came out on my birthday, the 2008, 2009, and so that has been my series, and I've collected every single issue of Batman and Robin.
Yeah, yeah.
It is a travesty that there is no Batman and Robin series right now in DC Rebirth.
I agree.
There should always be a series called Batman and Robin. It's kind of the way I feel about there should always be a series called The Man of Steel for Superman. Always.
Yeah.
So,
I agree 1,000%.
All right. Despite working as Grayson's Robin, Damian expresses a strong willingness to take over the Batman identity for himself if Dick is not up to it.
He's like 10.
He's 10. He's probably 11 at this point.
What a
They do a
jerk.
little bit of a time jump, so he's 11 at this point.
Yeah.
Damian has no respect for Grayson and tells him that if he wants his respect, he needs to earn it. It is soon revealed that Damian has begun to visit his father's former friend and enemy, Tommy Elliott, also known as Hush, in the secret prison at the top of Wayne Tower that Dick and Tim put him into, and he engages in chess games with him. Damian claims that these visits are out of curiosity for why Hush would alter his appearance to that of Bruce Wayne, but Tommy Elliott suspects that these visits are sort of Damian's form of grieving so that he can sort of spend some more quality time with his old man, because Talia looks like Bruce Wayne.
Yes, he does.
Now, early in his career as Robin, he and Dick Grayson came across Jason Todd operating as the Red Hood, with Todd trying to replace the dynamic duo. El Penitente sends the murderous Flamingo to Gotham to intervene. The confrontation leads to Damian being shot in the spine several times, needing his mother's medical care to replace his spine. During his time recovering from his injuries, he and Alfred must fend off the Batman clone that Dick dipped into the Lazarus pit, thinking it was Bruce. Now, knowing that Bruce wasn't actually dead, both Dick and Damian then soon find out that he is misplaced in time. And while investigating Wayne Manor during the events of Batman versus Robin, Damian's body was taken control of by Deathstroke, thanks to an implant in his spine planted there by his mother. With Dick eventually breaking Talia's control over her son, Damian was disgusted by the fact that his mother would do such a thing. And it is this point that Talia increases her clone production of Damian as she realizes that her son has completely sided with Dick Grayson and the Bat family. Damian finally stands up for his Robin mantle, telling Talia that being Robin is the best thing that he has ever done in his entire life, and that Talia does not need to save him from something that he chooses to be. Talia then shows Damian the cloned version of himself, who she sees as Damian's younger brother. And Talia admits to Damian that even though she loves him, he is no longer welcome and is now considered an enemy to the House of All Ghul. Damian replied, "Then I hope I will be a worthy enemy, mother."
Yeah.
And Damian as Robin is then seen to be teaming up with Bruce and Alfred to the search of Bruce Wayne. So this is the first official break between Talia and Damian. Now, Ashley, I want to ask you, what do you think about the connection between Damian and Deathstroke? Is there an homage there between the Dick and Deathstroke connection?
Oh, definitely. I think that's this was also a time probably when Arrow was in active development, when there was a little rehabbing of the Deathstroke character beginning around this time, and a little bit changing and modernizing of who he was, which I'm always pro. I am pro Deathstroke in continuity. I'm pro Slade Wilson. I think he's really interesting. Dick and Damian have a lot more parallels than they do differences in their narrative, even though on the surface they're very different. I think that's a conscious effort by creators to be like, look, because him being Bruce's son for people like me does feel like a cheat. But I think it's showing.
I understand that.
It's showing that he can go on a similar journey and he can defeat the same foes. I actually think his break from Talia is really interesting.
It's a good move.
It's a good move if you want Damian to be a sustainable Bat family character.
And that series is so good. Oh,
yeah,
man, that's one of the best logos of all time too. It's a great logo.
The idea of an army of Damian Waynes is just horrifying. Like a 1,000 angry little 10-year-olds. No, thank you. Pass.
Now, before we move on with more Damian Wayne, I wanted to take a moment between you and me, the listener. Now, I know you might be thinking right now about skipping ahead. That's fine. But I just want to ask you real quick to take a second and listen, because, you know, everyone that's listening to this podcast are Mind University students. I like to think that we're friends of a sort. So first of all, thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. And now, you know that we run ads on this podcast. We do. I wish we didn't, but we do, because it takes time for Ashley and I to put together the hours of research to make this podcast happen. Diving deep into these characters, diving deep into these subjects. It takes a lot more time than you would suspect it would, you know? And I love making this podcast. It's one of my favorite things to do every week. And this podcast, I feel, is the best way that you can hear us unfiltered and for free. And our Patreon, patreon.com/Jawiin, Jawiin, is the way that we keep it free for you. And it's the way that we keep it consistently coming out every single week. So if you like our work and you like our banter, then I would please ask you to support it. However much value we bring to your life, then that's how much I would ask you to support us over there. If you think we're only worth $1, great. That dollar will help. It'll help more than you know. If you think we're worth $5 a month, awesome. That's even great. And you'll get some extra podcasts over there on Patreon because we want to never take your support for granted. But I just want to tell you that the Patreon, and the reason why we talk about the Patreon so much, is the only way this show stays around. It's the only way this podcast grows and leads to spin-off podcasts and more. I'm a big believer in this new economy that if you love something, support it. Go look at my Patreon, see the people that I support. And I support those people on my Patreon, with my Patreon, because I want their work out in the world. I not only use Patreon to get your support, I use Patreon to give support to other people because I want their value in the world. And I hope you would consider that this podcast is valuable and you want this podcast out in the world. And I know right now, many of you are probably like, hey, I am having tough times. I financially can't donate. That's totally fine. If you cannot responsibly financially donate, then please don't. I would never ask you to create a hardship for yourself. But if you think our podcast is worth even $1 a month, if we give you that much joy every single week, that's only a quarter per podcast, 25 cents per podcast. I honestly think I listen to more than 25 cents worth of podcasts in my entire week. I listen to so many podcasts. So if you value our work, you value our podcast, please go over to patreon.com/Jawiin. Thank you to the ones who value our work over there. Please join them if you've ever found value in our work. And thank you. And now let's go back to silly things like Robin.
Yes, let's.
So after Dick Grayson's confidant, Oberon Sexton, was revealed to be the Joker in disguise.
What?
Damian tortured the villain by savagely beating him with a crowbar in order to get information along self-defense, as the Joker had already planned to attack him. However, the clown Prince of Crimes' appeared helplessness revealed to be another ruse, and he incapacitates Damian with his hidden Joker venom. The villain intends to use Damian and Dick for his fight against their common enemies, the Black Glove, the villains responsible for Batman R.I.P. Now, help arrives in the form of the original Batman, who had just got back through time, and Bruce Wayne helps Damian and Dick defeat the Black Glove and the Joker, and Wayne finally accepts his son in the role of Robin. Now, despite Batman's parental responsibilities to Damian, he decides that he prefers Damian to continue working with Dick, who will maintain the Batman mantle, and who Bruce actually sees as a positive role model for his son, rather than being with his son primarily. Now, this could be Bruce just, kind of pawning off his son to Dick at the time. I mean, he had just fought his way back through death and time. But this also led into Batman Incorporated, so Bruce could run around the world and sort of be James Bond some more. Ashley, excuse me. What is Batman Incorporated?
Batman Incorporated is after Bruce Wayne comes back to life, quote unquote. He pulls together all of the current reigning Bat characters, publicly makes an announcement that he's funding Batman's effort, which is really weird. And they become different versions of strike teams that operate all over the world instead of just in Gotham. I wanted to go back really quick to when Damian beat up Joker with a crowbar. Yep. Because there was, I don't want to call it controversy, but there was a lot of sensationalism around that moment because it is an homage to... and
it's the same crowbar.
Yeah, to Jason Todd's death in Death of the Family. Death of the Family, Death in the Family. They're both two events, and I can't remember which one is which anymore.
Death in the Family is where Jason Todd dies.
Then Death in the Family. And a lot of people I know thought that this was a really interesting turn for Damian, and then there was another big part of the community that thought it was a step too far. And I think of that moment, whether or not I necessarily love the storyline, but I think of it as one of Damian's more iconic and defining moments. So I just kind of wanted to mention that.
Sure.
But now we can talk about Batman Inc.
Okay, so do you like the idea of Batman Incorporated?
No.
Why? It didn't last very long.
It didn't.
Sadly, and I think it's one of the best things ever.
I think it's a well-written story. It's a Grant Morrison story, and I don't want to say he's infallible because that's not the case with anyone, but he just brings such an energy and a scope that even if it's not an idea that I love, I'm always interested in the tale that he has. For me, I like Batman when he's a little more grounded. I don't think Batman should be operating much outside of Gotham.
Oh, really? So the people of Japan to just suffer, Ashley, huh?
Japan is full of superheroes. They're called Sailor Scouts.
And Big Hero 6.
That's right. Neither of those are in the correct universe. But yeah, that's just my bias. Like, I like the stories to be a little more grounded. So that's all.
All right.
A little too sensational.
I love Batman
Ash.
Incorporated.
Don't you own the Omnibus or the Absolute or whichever
I
one
own
it is
the
that
Absolute.
DC prints?
I own the
Yeah.
Absolute because I think that Batman Incorporated does something to Batman that Batman doesn't get enough of, and that is
Jet setting?
kicking him out of boring stories. Most writers just write Batman fighting crime. Is in Gotham, oh, there's the crime, let's go get it. And Batman Incorporated, yeah, it might be something way outside of the door, but every once in a while I think you have to take a franchise and shake it up. And Batman Incorporated really does that, and he's still Batman.
That's fair. That's a very fair assertion.
Yeah. Soon, Talia al Ghul is revealed to be the big bad behind Leviathan, the main enemy of Batman Incorporated. And Talia informs Bruce that she's placed a $500 million bounty on their child's head, forcing Bruce to keep him close to protect him during the upcoming ordeal.
Hashtag bad mom.
Yep. With Dick Grayson returning to Nightwing soon after that, and Bruce returning to Gotham, Damian finally becomes Robin under his father's watchful eye. And then the new 52 happened. Ashley, what's the new 52?
In 2011, DC thought, Barry Allen just went back in time. Let's have him reset the timeline. Everyone's going to only have been superheroes for 5 years, except not, and get more lines on their costumes.
Yep. And the history of Batman didn't change one bit.
Or Green Lantern.
So we're just moving on.
Yeah.
So Bruce and Damian began working together against his mother, Talia, again, who I said was revealed as the head of Leviathan. And during a fight in a meat factory, Damian converts to vegetarianism and adopts a pet named Batcow.
Oh, so dumb. I hate Batcow.
Who is a cow whose horns are in the shape of a bat.
Yeah.
He is soon believed dead when he was shot in the head by an assassin named Goat Boy, and it was revealed that Talia has created another clone as his replacement, the obedient and fully grown Heretic. Now, Robin is soon shown to have faked his death and is confined to the Batcave at Batman's orders to avoid the bounty on his head. And to be able to fight crime, Damian begins using the name Redbird and switches to a new costume.
I think Redbird is not a terrible name for
it's a cool little costume, too.
A potential Robin.
Yep.
It's my preferred Damian Wayne costume.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, right before his death, Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason started their run on Batman and Robin, which I am now calling it right now. It is the greatest run of the new 52. Ooh. 40 issues strong, and it's so good. In this series, Bruce feels that he needs to fix or save Damian from his violent tendencies that he learned while training with the League of Assassins. But he doesn't realize just how far Damian has come or how much of an effort he's made to work past all that training. And in the series, Bruce gives Damian a dog named Titus.
Hey!
Soon, Nobody, who is the son of Henry Ducard, who is one of the men who trained Bruce, and also that is the man that you're first thought to believe that Liam Neeson is in Batman Begins.
Yeah.
So Nobody appears in Gotham and tries to tempt Damian into giving into his violent nature, and sort of becomes a devil on the young Robin's shoulder. Damian abandons his father to train under Nobody, and Damian is put through a test by Nobody to gauge his loyalty. And this ends in Nobody asking Damian to shoot and kill a corrupt ambassador. Damian is handed a gun, he pulls the trigger, but the gun doesn't fire, as Nobody simply wanted Damian to prove that he's willing to abandon his father's no-kill rule. Damian humors Nobody for a short time, but eventually alerts his father to their position, to Nobody's dismay. Damian points out that he knew by the weight of the gun that it was never loaded. And despite their problems, he tells Batman that he would never betray Bruce simply for the fact that Bruce is his father. Which is a lot of the storyline is Batman like, what are you doing? And Damian's like, look, I was going undercover for you, man. So, which I love because I think that's a very Bruce Wayne thing. Bruce Wayne would do that to the other Robin. So I think it's funny. I think it's funny that Damian does it to Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Now, driven by his anger, Bruce eventually throws Nobody into a vat of acid with the intent to kill him for what he had done. But when he looks at Damian, he comes back to his senses. Nobody begins to speak to Damian, telling them not to disappoint them, and that Nobody said, I will be back to kill you. If you do not stop me, Damian, I will kill you both. To which Damian takes a technique that Bruce had taught him at the beginning of the storyline and kills Nobody right in front of his father.
Yeah. Just in time to create a cooler Nobody.
Yep.
Nobody 2.0 is my preferred Nobody.
Yes, eventually we'll
I'm sure we'll brush up against
We will
that.
barely talk about Maya because she's not important. But Maya 2.0, who is the daughter of this Nobody, is great. Is a great character.
Yeah, it's a big part of Rebirth.
Now we're going to get to the War of the Robins, which is different from Robin War. They're different things.
Yeah, DC really loves to recycle names with slightly arranged letters in the way that Marvel likes to recycle names with different numbers on the end.
Now, War of the Robins is an arc in Batman and Robin, the same series. It's in the next Batman and Robin arc. And in this one, Damian swore to defeat all the other Robins to prove himself as the best Robin.
Which he's done several times. Like Battle for the Cowl has a subplot like this where he comes after Tim with a sword. And...
Now, the first Robin he goes after is Tim Drake, who he managed to defeat with mind games. And Damian told Tim that they were more alike than he realized. And he sort of saw a similar killer instinct in him when they faced Harvest with the Teen Titans. The next Robin he fought was Jason Todd, who was defeated partially due to have already been heavily fatigued at the time, an advantage that Damian had no problem in exploiting. After the fight with Jason, Damian took Todd's red hood helmet as a gift for himself. Now, Batman and Robin and all the other past Robins came to help battle a villain, and they defeated him during this battle. And after the battle, Nightwing offers Damian an Eskrima stick as his trophy, telling Damian that he doesn't have to prove himself as the best Robin because he's already wearing an R on his chest, and that's all you need to know.
Can I ask you a question? And
Sure.
you might have this later as a discussion point, in which case we can skip over it. Is Damian the best Robin in any of your estimation?
No.
Okay, because I know we've spoken about this before.
We did a YouTube video about it too.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, good.
Damian is not the best Robin. Even in terms of skills, Damian's not the best Robin.
Yeah.
I believe that what this character and what Nightwing just did proves himself as the best Robin. Then he's just like, you wear an R on your chest, that's all that matters, man.
I mean, I do love the idea of that because it feeds into later characters. But Damian does strike me as the type of character who would be like, but I gotta prove it. Damian very much has a youngest sibling attitude about him.
Yeah.
And
he's 11.
And when you're living up to the legacy, like let's set Bruce Wayne aside of like Dick Grayson and Tim Drake. It's a pretty big hill to climb.
Yes. Now, after the fight, of course, all the Robins went home. Ashley, what do you think about this? Damian fighting all the other Robins. Do you like this Nightwing moment? I mean, let's talk about this.
Okay. I'm sorry. I sort of jumped the gun then
it's all
asking
good.
you that. I like the moment for Nightwing. I really do. I think it's a great Dick Grayson moment. And that's what I think, for me personally, is what I enjoy about Dick's time as Batman. I think when they get two Batmans, it's ridiculous. Sometimes I feel like I don't understand why Dick holds on to Damian as hard as he does. But I guess that's going to keep happening.
Because he's little Bruce Wayne.
I understand that. And you're correct.
He's little Bruce Wayne.
It doesn't make me like him. I think it's an unnecessary move for Damian at this point.
Can I give you why I think the Dick and Damian relationship is amazing?
Sure. Absolutely.
Dick Grayson saved Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne did not save Dick.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne, if you go back and look at those comics, and New Frontier does a really good job about this, is that Batman was falling into a hole.
Yes. Yeah.
And he was going darker and darker and deeper because he was just punching people left and right. And Dick Grayson coming into his life as Robin saved him and made him realize, oh, this can be fun. Because there is the idea of, and I do agree with this, and I've talked with some other people about this, you don't go be Batman every night if you hate it.
Exactly.
You have to like some part of it.
No, I don't think Bruce hates being Batman. I think Bruce hates himself.
Sure. Yes.
I think he loves being Batman.
Yes. And
but I'll fight anyone that Robin is important from that emotional standpoint. Like Robin
is important. Yeah.
He's literally the light.
Yes.
In Batman's life.
And
all the Robins should be.
And so Dick is the Robin that pulled him out of that abyss. Dick is the brother/son that made him see it as fun. And I think Dick, because I think Dick has, like, I would say, next to Superman, I think Dick Grayson has almost the biggest heart in the DC universe.
I would definitely agree with that.
I would almost say it's a three-way tie between Superman, Nightwing, and Wonder Woman about who has the most compassion and heart in the DC universe. And I think Dick looks at Damian as Bruce in his Robin year one.
Baby Bruce.
That he's baby Bruce, and he's trying to do the same thing where he's like, I'm going to pull this Bruce, this tiny Bruce.
Yeah.
Because I've said that for years. Damian Wayne to me is Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. He's Bruce Wayne without the compassion of Alfred.
Yeah. He's even more emotionally compacted.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne.
He's what Bruce could have become without,
I also don't know, when I actually pause and think about it, I don't know if I really like Bruce Wayne.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Super Dick Batman, to me, is not a huge leap from Damian in the beginning.
It's basically Damian. It's the same character.
And I like the idea of Batman, right? And Bruce is obviously the progenitor of that. But I don't know if I like who Bruce Wayne is. I like who Dick Grayson is. I even like who Jason Todd is.
Yeah. I agree with you. Bruce Wayne is not a good person.
He's not a good man. No. Not in the way that like Clark Kent is a good man, or
he fights for good.
Wally is a good man.
But I don't know if he's a good man.
Yeah. But I guess to answer your question, I feel like if you're going to be a Robin with any staying power, you do go through an arc at least once where you're trying to prove that you are the greatest Robin who ever Robined. And often it's Dick who has to come to you and be like, hey, you are worthy, you are allowed. And this is that version of the story for Damian. And of course, because it's Damian, it's going to be more combative. So I think it's a well-written story. I don't like that we retread this ground almost immediately when we do Robin War. Robin War's not quite the same, but it's a similar trope that happens only a few years later.
Sure. So eventually Alfred Pennyworth gets Damian a cat to take care of while he's stuck in the Batcave, who Damian names Alfred. And Damian refuses to stay home while all his allies are fighting Leviathan. And Alfred allows him to leave, knowing that he can't stop him. Damian flies using his exoskeleton to the center of the battle where Leviathan has taken over Wayne Tower. And Damian neutralizes the child soldiers and teams up with Dick Grayson to take down the remaining assassins. This is a very nice page in Batman Inc. where Damian admits to Dick that he loves him.
Oh, I know this page.
And that they are truly the best dynamic duo. This page is like, and I might be paraphrasing this, but Damian looks at Dick and goes, were we the best dynamic duo ever? And Dick goes, the best. And then they leap over the thing, which I love that because it reminds me so much of the character moment from Infinite Crisis where after Bloodhaven is destroyed, Nightwing is in the Batcave and Nightwing's about to leave and Batman goes, Dick, the good old days. Were they good?
Yeah.
And Dick goes, they were the best.
But it's interesting for me, that Dick moment, like I can feel that in my heart. Mm-hmm. I don't feel that moment for Damian.
It's you've shut down your heart to Damian.
I did.
You have.
I have no room. It's such a Damian.
This is two boys that are so hurting. He's so hurting that he's reaching out for anything, and that this boy, he closed off his heart to everything. And this is the first time in continuity that he goes, hey, I love you, man. It's the first time ever.
It's such a betrayal of Tim Drake, though.
Wow.
It is such...
How? Tim Drake has nothing to do with this.
No, but the existence of Damian Wayne
pull your
is such a betrayal.
Pull your stake out of Tim Drake land here.
Never.
We're talking about Dick and Damian.
It's a nice moment for Dick and Damian. It doesn't.
Look, Tim Drake in the equation of Dick and Damian, he's like the ex-girlfriend that we don't want to talk about. Like, so leave him let these two boys have their love. How is it a betrayal of Tim? I don't actually. How do you mean that by that? Before we get to the laughter,
big rabbit hole.
Oh, please let's not go too far down the rabbit hole of Tim Drake. But
my feeling is Tim Drake has definitely established himself as the best Robin. That's at being Robin. He's the most like Bruce Wayne. He's the most like a detective.
I will concede that point.
I will agree that if you're ranking the import of the characters, it's got to be Dick Grayson.
Dick Grayson is the most important Robin. Yep.
And I agree with your argument that he might be the best character in the DC universe.
Yep.
But if you're just looking at fulfilling the role of Robin, Tim Drake is the best. Tim Drake got a solo series before anyone else. And then Tim and Dick really don't get a lot of development in their relationship until... Because Nightwing is annoyed at Bruce Wayne.
Until the storyline that I mispronounced that's called Prodigal.
Prodigal, yeah.
Yeah, I like to call it. I like to say it Prodigal.
Yeah, until right before Tim kind of gets cast aside, and it bothers me that we finally spent a good amount of time reconnecting these characters, rebuilding the Bat family. Dick is like tacitly okay being around Bruce again, and then they're just like, psych, Bruce has a son, and Dick's like, screw you, go be Red Robin. I don't believe Bruce is still alive. Like, I don't know. I feel very offended for Tim at that point.
I agree with you, and we've talked about this. We've actually talked about this off mic a lot too. It's kind of our problem. I think we talked about this in the Geek Lesson Extras over there on Patreon. It's the fact that at that moment, they should have... This is the point that Tim probably should have become Nightwing.
He should have, with the red stripe.
He should have grown up and graduated because that's the obvious track. But instead, by making him Red Robin, he still feels like he's just a Robin that's not as important.
And then by basically pitting him against the Bat family because no one believes him. Anyway.
But that Red Robin solo series is great.
Yeah. Great Francis Metapole. But this is one of the moments for me, and all fans have this, and I think it's important to be able to recognize it and call it out. And I know I'm being really annoying to you because you're doing a great lesson.
This is a Damian Grayson.
You like
Damian Grayson lesson. Yeah, I'm going to ship that. Damian Grayson.
And you like this character. This is just a fan thing that I can't get my head around.
Okay.
That's all.
That's fine.
But it's a great moment for Damian.
Back to the Damian Wayne episode, everybody.
I'm going to get so many.
I knew we were going to get into it. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. So Damian and Dick are the best dynamic duo, and they have this moment, and and they fly into battle, and the heretic flings Grayson aside and challenges Damian to a sword fight.
I will say this: I like the idea of heretic as a villain. I think it's an interesting idea.
I wish they hadn't killed him. I wish he's still around. Despite his bravery and refusal to give up, Damian is impaled through the chest and killed. But
hooray!
Hey, he's not dead for long. Actually, Ashley, how long? I was surprised by this. I looked this up the other day when I was doing the research for this podcast. How long in real time do you think Damian was dead?
I think it's between 18 months and 2 years. I think it might be less than 18 months.
No, you're correct. 2 years.
There you go.
It's exactly 2 years. He is dead for 2 years.
It's longer than I thought it would.
Yep.
I really thought he was going to be dead for like 6 months.
Yeah.
And I'll say this. I think when they brought him back and he had that weird pseudo Superboy power set.
He only had it for like 2 issues.
I thought that was there's a particular panel when he's startled awake from a nightmare and he shoots through the floorboards on the floor above him and Alfred sees him.
Yeah, he goes into Alfred's bedroom.
I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, because his head is through the floor.
Yeah, and Alfred's like, oh, hello, Master Damian.
So yeah, it's never really told how long in the DC universe. It kind of seems like it's maybe 6 months, but
it's 2 publication years.
It's 2 publication years, which is a long time. Now, through various trials and tribulations, but involving his corpse, involving Ra's al Ghul and Apocalypse, Batman manages to rescue his son's body, and through using the Omega Sanction infused with the Chaos Crystal, a lot of comic booky stuff, they bring Damian back to life within the Batcave, where he briefly has superpowers. And then the new 50, excuse me, I was going to say the new 52, then DC Rebirth happens. Ashley, what's DC Rebirth?
So DC's like, maybe all of the continuity, thank you. And they soft reset the timeline.
Yep. Now here's the thing. Ashley, this is going to be a little bit longer episode than normal, just so get ready, buckle in, folks. Should they have left Damian dead at this point? What do you feel about this? Like, okay, so Damian gets killed by Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison says that in an interview, the reason why he killed Damian at the end of Batman Inc. was because he was like, I felt like I had to check off that box where the initial thought of where I was going to kill Damian the first time. So he's like, I felt I couldn't end my run without killing Damian.
I'm of a couple minds about this. You knew he wasn't going to stay dead because they did not replace him almost immediately. I
have some things to bring up. You want me to talk about what the plans for that? I have some behind the publishing information here, dude. Let me tell you real quick. Okay. So apparently Morrison wanted to kill Damian. Peter Tomasi did not. When they killed Damian, Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason pitched to make the new Robin Carrie Kelly.
Yes, and that was the rumor for a long... And she had been introduced as Damian's tutor.
That's why she shows up, is because they were going to make her Carrie Kelly. Then Frank Miller started working on Dark Knight 3.
And was like, I got plans.
And he took Carrie Kelly back from them. And then that's when the DC editorial was like, okay, Peter and Patrick, bring back Damian.
Can I tell you, though...
So should he die?
I don't think Carrie Kelly should come back.
You mean Damian or Carrie Kelly?
I don't think Carrie Kelly should come back.
You think she should only exist in Dark Knight continuity?
I do. Okay. Because to me, she's so perfect And the more stories people in, the less perfect they get. I like that she's preserved. She's got this kind of legendary status in Bat canon.
I think I actually really liked that idea of her going into regular continuity because...
Oh, I'd be excited and I'd read it. Absolutely.
I just feel it's right for another girl to be Robin now.
I would love a female Robin to be done right in the modern age. Absolutely. So I'm of a couple minds with the Damian thing. I think, in my opinion, for my taste, my favorite Damian stuff has come out of Rebirth.
Yeah.
And
you mean the moment where Dick and Damian confirm that they're the best dynamic duo?
No, that's
your favorite moment, right?
No. So I guess I'm sort of grateful for that.
Yeah, for that moment, I agree.
No. Do I wish Damian Wayne would die and never come back? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's tough when you lay down a biological son of Bruce
I just want to say Ashley has now just proclaimed that she wishes an 11-year-old child just dies.
He's a clone.
No, he's not a clone. He's had clones made of him.
He's a clone.
He's not a clone.
You're so mad. He's full of cloned organs. Look, he's 90% clone.
Don't clone shame. Okay?
I'm going to clone shame.
They're people just like people.
No, they're not.
Yes.
They're photocopies of people.
They are made of people and they're Soylent Green. Okay, continue.
So I think if they would have killed him, I think it would have been bad from a PR publication standpoint. I would have liked him to die forever, though. All
right. So we're moving into DC Rebirth here, which is sort of a reboot that's not a reboot. Damian Wayne stars in 3 titles. He shows up in Batman. He's the new leader of the Teen Titans. And then he is Super Sons. Ashley, Super Sons, why do you love it? Now, you have talked about that you like Damian Wayne. This is your new stuff. Why Super Sons?
I would never say I like Damian Wayne.
Well, but you like Damian through Super Sons.
Yeah.
Why this flip? Because you like Dick Grayson. So why did Dick Grayson and Damian not do it for you? But why does Jonathan and Kent?
Because it should have been Dick and Tim. I love Jonathan Kent. I think Jonathan Kent is like a unicorn. I think he's this magical being that he is a magical being. I didn't know that I needed, and I didn't know was going to affect me the way that he did. I just think he's a delight, and I think he's wonderful, and I think he's such an amazing addition to the canon and to the Superman. I'm so glad he's part of regular continuity. And from the moment I saw the concept art, I was like, I'm into that. And I even like Damian's. I like Damian's redesigned costume. Like it was. Yeah, it's cool. I like it. I like that he. I think I kind of like that he's a bit of a bully to Damian. Jonathan? Yeah. Yeah. I like that he can put Damian in his place, and Damian respects John more than he respects a lot of people, which I think is interesting. And I think his brusque personality works better against John than against a lot of other characters. And just to allow him to have fun, because they do have fun and they are friends, and it's kind of them against Dad, which is always cute. I just think it's delightful to see Damian having a good time. All right. Which is not something that we've seen. So let's talk about Super Sons here. Yeah. While searching for a tree for Christmas, Jonathan Samuel Kent accidentally torched some woodlands near a swamp in Hamilton, and he was subsequently rescued by Maya Ducard, the second nobody, and Goliath. Ashley, who's Goliath? Oh, I love Goliath. We haven't touched on Goliath yet, but who's Goliath? Because I love Goliath as well. Goliath is a man-bat. Yes. / pet of Damian. Yep. Who has a big ring through his nose and kind of grunts. Yep. He snorts a lot. Yeah. One of my favorite things about Damian, first of all, I don't think Damian should lead the Teen Titans. I don't mind him being on. We're going to talk about the Teen Titans. I don't mind him being on the Teen Titans, but he brings Goliath to the Teen Titans, and I think that's cool. Goliath's really cool. And the fact that DC Comics has not made a plushy Goliath, I curse them. Yeah, or even a giant action figure. Man, it's so good. Yeah. So John later awakened in the Batcave and found out that Robin had been keeping it under surveillance for a long time. The two initially did not get along, and the situation was further complicated when Batman and Superman arrived, blaming each other for the conflict. The ensuing melee abruptly averted when John used his freeze breath for the very first time to separate the two sides and allowed him to explain the situation to his father. And while their fathers were discussing the lab test that Damian had performed on John, the two boys went off to look at all of Damian's pets. However, due to Damian's snide remarks and goadings, John lost his temper and another brawl broke out between them. And this was quickly put down as Batman looks down on them furiously. In order to properly discipline their sons and teach them the value of working together, Superman and Batman have them undergo a series of challenges. This is a great 2-issue series in Superman. However, their lack of teamwork and animosity toward each other caused them to fail at every challenge.
The boys finally manage to put aside their differences and work together in order to save their fathers from an apparent threat in the Batcave, which actually was a ruse by Batman. And at this point, Alfred Pennyworth declares that they have nothing else to prove to Superman and Batman. And being the good grandfather that Alfred Pennyworth is, he declares Damian and John the Super Sons.
There's a lot of really funny recurring jokes in the Super Sons series. One of my favorite ones is that John has to carry Damian because he's obviously faster and stronger. He's also bigger than Damian, even though Damian's 3 years older than him. Like, Super Sons is very funny.
Yes. Now, we're going to briefly talk about Teen Titans, and then we're going to go to a little bit more into Super Sons. So, in Teen Titans, on his 13th birthday...
Yeah, that's the starting issue.
Yep, Damian is sent a package by his grandfather, Ra's al Ghul, which contains a dead Robin, the bird. And after a meeting with his mother...
It's just Jason Todd's corpse.
With his mother, Talia, he discovers that as a warning from his cousin, Mara al Ghul, who has chosen him as her prey as part of the initiation ritual she must undertake in order to properly join the League of Assassins. Now, Mara has been made the leader of a group known as the Demon's Fist, which was originally supposed to have been led by Damian, but became hers when he chose to leave the League. They too have chosen targets they must hunt down in order to ascend the League, and Damian decides to collect the Demon's Fist target in order to form the new Teen Titans, because their targets are Starfire, Beast Boy, Raven, and Kid Flash.
Imagine that.
The Black Wally West. So there you go. Let's also talk about Super Sons here, because there's a last little thing here. Jonathan Kent is paid a visit soon by Robin, who is posing as his school's bus driver and his substitute teacher. And then he is later unwillingly recruited by Damian to help him investigate a series of break-ins at LexCorp. This misadventure was further complicated with the appearance of Lex Luthor, who tried to capture them both, and the two boys managed to escape Luthor and followed a lead to a home in Providence, Rhode Island. There they encountered a family who still retained their powers from the Amazo virus. This is a virus that basically gave regular people superpowers. Quickly, Robin and Superboy quickly leave their area. They head back to Hamilton. However, their absences are from their respective homes did not go unnoticed by Lois Lane and Alfred Pennyworth, who try to sneak back into Jonathan Holmes. The boys are then subsequently punished by their respective parents, and Batman forbids Robin to go crime fighting for a week, while Superboy was forced to do all his farm chores without his superpowers.
Yeah, boy.
With the prospect of soon moving to Metropolis on his mind, John eventually ran off and headed to Gotham to speak with Damian in the Batcave, and this ended up in another argument and a short fight before Alfred Pennyworth arrived. The two were later joined by Batman and Robin, and they worked out their differences. And Superman and Batman decided that the boys would be allowed to go out on their own patrol and their own crime-fighting adventures, but only if they did it together.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which I think is an interesting idea. Are Batman and Superman right on that, Ashley? What do you think about this?
I don't know if they're right, but I do like the idea that we're sort of getting an echo to World's Finest. I like the idea that they are trying to teach their boys to work together. And I think that if you're going to have a career as a hero in the DC universe, you might as well partner up. Right.
Sure. And that's where we're going to leave it with the new Rebirth stuff and Deathstroke claiming to be Damian's daddy. We're not going to go into that.
Oh, boy.
So we're going to head off and into recommended reading,
where Professor Jason is going to recommend where you can pick up reading if you've been intrigued by this episode on Damian Wayne. Find this and all of our recommended reading at geekhistorylesson.com/recommended reading. Click on the little widget, buy yourself a little book, and a little bit support comes back our way so that we can keep researching and keep the lights on here.
That is right. Now, the number one thing, the biggest thing, if you're a fan of Damian Wayne, what you need to read is the Batman and Robin run by Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason. Now, I have this on our recommended reading. I know this is pricey. It's about $75. The Batman and Robin Omnibus. It collects their entire run. It is like 55 issues in one omnibus. It is huge.
That's
it is
great value.
awesome, but it is my favorite series, the New 52, and it is the best Damian story of all time. If you don't have the money to plunk down on that, you can go to Batman and Robin Volume 1, Batman Reborn. This is the trade that collects the first 6 issues of Dick Grayson and Damian's time together. And also, you can go get the trade of Super Sons Volume 1 called When I Grow Up. That's the last thing I would suggest. They're also making an omnibus of that run. But if you just want the first 6 issues, you want to try it out, do that.
Cool.
So, we've basically did a lot of discussion, and this is a little bit long episode, but really quickly, Ashley, I just want to ask you a quick, brief question. discussion here.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll see Damian Wayne in a movie? What do you think about this?
We've talked on so many different outlets about Robins in movies, which Robinses will be in movies. I think Dick Grayson is the hurdle that we have to cross in live action.
Yep.
In a film universe. You've said this many times before.
Indeed.
I think if we don't go straight to Carrie Kelly for a diversity standpoint, which I could see in a cinematic
I can see them doing that too.
I think Damian Wayne is the next logical answer because being able to say son of Batman from a marketing standpoint, I understand the power there. I think right now 50-50 shot.
Okay.
I think it depends on if that Nightwing movie ever gets
made.
All
right, that's good
which
enough.
Does date the podcast a bit.
Let's go to the next section and the second to last section of our podcast, the teaching tweet.
Where in 140 characters, because we're old school or less, Professor Jason is going to summarize everything that he just taught you about Damian Wayne. Find this tweet and all of our teaching tweets on Twitter at GHL Podcast.
Damian Wayne. He has a bat cow, a bat dog, a bat cat, and a super friend. Sounds like the son of Batman to me.
That's cute.
That's it. He has a lot of animals. He loves animals.
Yeah, that's why he's a vegetarian.
Let's go to the honor roll, Ashley.
Yeah, the honor roll, where if you would love to join our honor roll, you can head on over to iTunes.
Or Apple's Podcast, as it's called now.
I'm sorry. I'm not hipping with it.
That's right.
Or Apple Podcast. Leave us a 5-star review, and we'll read whatever you write, because that 5-star review helps other amazing nerds join the Mind University.
All right, the first person to join the honor roll is Crikey6559, who said, "Ooh, no. I've caught all the way up on Geek History lesson, and now I have to wait for a new lesson each week. Love the podcast guide. The chemistry is freak between Jason, insert episode in here, Inman, and Ashley Victoria Robinson. West Coast Avengers, dun dun dun." That's awesome. I like that. The next one is Chuck Sachs, SAX, who says, "Love these guys. Update. My kids are requesting regular updates as to whether or not Doctor Strange and Clea appear in the episodes. Get on that, guys. I've been listening since around episode 25, and it is a must listen every week. My kids and I listen to this podcast, and it is helping me with my mission to raise my children as proper nerdlings. The great thing about this podcast, besides filling in the gaps in my memory, is the recommended readings. My kids are starting picking up classic superhero comic books because of Ashley and Jason's suggestions.
That's so
They
nice.
even read some issues of West Coast Avengers. Down, down, down. P.S. More singing, more Doctor Strange, and keep up the great work, please." Oh, Chuck Sack, that's so awesome. Your kids listen to us, man.
Also, fun fact, I'm currently wearing my Geek History Lesson West Coast Avengers.
She is.
Shirt.
No lie. So shout out Chuck Sachs to your kids. And Crikey6559, thank you so much for joining the honor roll. We have bagels in the fridge. Don't touch the potato salad. That is Mr. Smith of the physics department.
Physics.
Yeah, we have a physics department.
Cool.
All right, so head on over to iTunes or Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You'll get yourself added to the honor roll. While you're over there, click subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. You can listen on Spotify. You can listen on Stitcher. You can listen on iHeartRadio. You can listen basically anywhere you put podcasts in your ear holes. Listen.
Totally.
Listen. You can also suggest this lesson and other lessons like this, like the awesome people that suggested Damian Wayne.
Yeah, all
like
of our rad TAs.
Fan Tim 5, Dawn Denton, Lee Chavos, Tanisha Marshall, Dwayne Cadell, Letitia Marshall, at Dark Knight 8883, Lucas Blanco, and Julia King. Where can they suggest future lessons like those people?
So many places, including geekhistorylesson.com, facebook.com/geekhistorylesson, and on Twitter at GHL Podcast. There's like 100,000 ways to contact us in all of those places.
Yes, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter. For me, it's at Jawiin, Jawiin. Follow Ashley on Twitter at Ashley V. Robinson. The podcast is at GHL Podcast. Hashtag stick around, the last little section to make sure you guys stick around. Ashley, I think I know the answer to this question. What's your favorite Damian story? Let's go.
Ooh.
I have a prediction. Can I predict it?
Yeah.
I predict it is the scene in Batman Incorporated where Dick and Damian say that they are the best dynamic duo. That's my prediction.
My favorite single issue Damian Wayne story is actually during Robin War when he infiltrates Gotham Academy.
Oh, and doesn't he...
I believe that's issue 8.
Doesn't he kissy he with Maps?
He doesn't kiss Maps. Maps
he gives her a
also
batarang.
might be into girls.
Maps figures out she's Robin. He's Robin, right?
And he gives her a batarang. And it's really, really sweet. He shows up again later in the series, and I don't know what they got so right about it, but before Super Sons, that was my favorite version of Damian. I think maybe I just like Damian the best when he's kind of with a cute little companions because I love him with Maps and I love him with John. Maybe that's the answer for me.
All right, that works.
Dick's not cute enough.
Dick is... No, let's not go into that. All right. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Geek History Lesson. I am Jason, best dynamic duo ever. Inman.
I am Ashley Victoria Robinson and Professor Jason in the worst attitude possible. Could you please dismiss the class?
Class is dismissed.